I'm Kisha, your host of Beauty and the Wise, the ultimate lifestyle and wellness podcast for women over 40, where we are empowering you to redefine the narrative around aging well. Whatever you call it, aging well, aging gracefully, aging fabulously, even anti-aging, we are here to support you with experts and insiders to help you and empower you to advocate for your own health and wellness. As women, we go through various phases of our hormonal journey. And typically for women in their 40s and even 50s, perimenopause and menopause are no different. Today's guest understands that in addition to going through these hormonal changes, they're happening during a time of our career when we're at the height of our career, when we have family demands, when we have increased responsibilities when it comes to caring for individuals. And on top of all of that, society is telling us how we need to show up in all of these spaces. Our guest today, Jessica Lightbourne of Braver You University, provides support that will help women focus on how to break these societal expectations. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here, Kisha. I really am.
I'm glad that you're here. And you know what I forgot to tell you? You needed to bring some cookies. I don't know how I forgot to say that. God.
Okay, next time.
We'll save that for next time.
Don't let the secret out.
Jessica, please tell us what inspired Braver You University?
Braver You University came from my own personal story. I'm somebody who, from very young, was kind of like an anxious person, very shy, very introverted. I spent a lot of time in my head, so sort of very intellectual, but wanting to just sort of be free and to achieve the things that I wanted to achieve. And I knew that I couldn't do that if I wasn't just at least a little bit braver. Mm-hmm. And so from that began my journey. So I would say that it became a practice of mine because I knew that in order to grow, in order to get what I wanted to get, I had to be braver.
Good. Sounds good. I mean, for us, especially, again, women in their 40s or 50s, we go through so many years of conforming and, just accepting and just falling in line. I know that you help women with identifying kind of how they can break these expectations and really remove these, what we would call society, these masks that are accepted and that we put on so easily. But tell me, how do you help women kind of identify that?
Oh, such a good question. So, a wise person once said, people have their private lives, their public lives, and their secret lives.
Yes, they do.
And so one of the wonderful things about working with women, with me, is that they have a safe space to say things that they've never told anyone else. And oftentimes things that they've never said to themselves out loud or have been in denial about, pretending not to know. And so one of the things that I provide for women is that space to just be. Mm-hmm. Be present to their thoughts, their feelings, their body. And a lot of times we aren't present to any of that because we're rushing and we're taking care of everybody else. And so I create a space where people know that they're not going to be judged, that they're going to be absolutely loved. They're going to be told that there's nothing wrong with them, that they are worthy, because we have been programmed to think that there's something wrong with us. And sometimes it's not even a program. Sometimes it's just our child mind that interprets our surroundings when we're 8 years old and we try to make sense of it and have some control over it. So really, I create the space. I create powerful questions, and I really, as much as possible, zip it and let people actually tell the truth about themselves in a way that supports them rather than tears them down. Yeah. So we know that we all have personas. We all have masks. It's just part of being a human being. Mm-hmm. But the road to self-actualization, the road to getting what you really, truly long for and desire, which for me is, I want to be loved. I want to love myself. I want to be loved by the people who I love. And I know that I'm never going to be fully loved by myself or by others if I don't reveal myself. And so it's taking off that mask that actually is liberation. But, you know, in a small town or a small community, we are taught, we're socialized to keep the mask on firm, 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 right? And so it's just it is part of our culture to do so, but it's killing us, mind, body, and spirit. And that's what I found. I used to practice law, and you know, it was very much the old, you know, old boys club, and I was slowly dying. It was killing me. And so what I have seen to be true is once you say that thing that you've never said before out loud in a space that is safe, it doesn't feel as scary to do it again in a space that might not feel as safe.
That is so powerful. And I guess just hearing you speak, you know, things like burnout and repressed anger, you know, these are things that kind of made sense to me as you were talking. You're creating this space for women to be able to address these concerns in a way, in a positive light. You know, how do you help them identify the warning signs? Because they may not be in your safe space when they realize that something needs to come out. How do you get them to realize before they get to that next stage?
Oh, I think that's such a great question. So a lot of times people will come to me after, right? And so there's been there's been a blow up. Like you read that chapter in my book where I was like seeing red, raging. My father told me I had a temper tantrum, which was very disempowering. But you know, you get to that point where you just blow. And to your point, if you don't handle it in real time, it does come out in weird, wonderful, wild, explosive ways that, you know, we then have to clean up. And I would say that sometimes that's the only way that you do find out. So I'm saying that to say that for someone like me, I never thought I was angry. I wasn't a person who got angry. Angry wasn't allowed in any way in my family, in my school, anywhere, right? And so I didn't even have an awareness when I was being angry. Now I know. So what I will say is some of the things that I know are signs for me now could be signs for other people who haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
So now I know that the way that I handled my anger that I wasn't even aware of was stuffing it down with food, sleeping a lot, drinking a lot, getting intimate when I shouldn't be, you know, when it didn't serve me, not when it shouldn't be, because shouldn't, I don't, is a banned word in my vocabulary, but, you know, when it didn't serve me, all those ways really to numb the feeling. So we know all the ways that we numb our feelings, right? When we numb our feelings, we actually don't get to the root of what is the problem, and we don't even know that we're doing that, we're feeling what we're feeling, and that our bodies are feeling what they're feeling. And so I would say that there are different indicators. So are you being snappy all the time? Are you in a state of self-loathing? Are you beating yourself up terribly? And, you know, are you even at the point where you're depressed or suicidal or just acting out of character? Are you able to be with yourself for a moment?
This is true. And again, put hormones into the mix as well in all of this. Yeah.
Right. And so that's the thing, right? Because when the hormones start coming in, you actually feel like you're going crazy. And really, if we stop for a moment, it doesn't even have to be a long moment. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 10 minutes, and just do a scan and ask the question. My practice is, how am I? And when I ask myself, how am I? It's, what am I thinking? What emotions are here? And where is it in my body? So it truly is getting present to my thoughts, my feelings, and my body sensations, and saying, so now I can say, I'm angry, right? And so then what comes after, how am I? And that answer is, what do I need?
So, and that's where prioritizing your needs and especially for women who have spent so many years managing everybody else or putting everybody else first, self-discovery comes into there.
Absolutely. And it's crazy, right? Because a lot of the women that I work with, all of the people that I work with are brilliant people, right? So we think that we know, but we don't know. The self-discovery piece, we don't know. We know everything about what our parents want, what our friends want, what our kids want, what our church wants, what our society wants, but we have a really hard time sometimes expressing either our thoughts, our feelings, or where it is in our body. A lot of people that I know only live from here above, in their head. Brilliant people, but have detached themselves from their body. So when the hormones are doing wild and wonderful things, they don't even know
What's going on?
yeah, so that self-discovery is so important. And I would say there's many, many ways to do it. There's low-cost ways to do it. One of my biggest practices that serves me, and I know a lot of my clients, is writing it down. But, you can just talk to somebody that you trust, go for a walk, be with yourself.
Be with
Be
yourself.
with yourself.
Find strategies that work for you.
Yeah, discover yourself. I love self-discovery as a word because it frames it as an adventure. It frames it as something like a holiday to like a fantastical place.
And how does fear of judgment play into this? So, rejection and being compliant, it holds women back. Some women think that they need to dim their light so that you're comfortable or so that the other person is comfortable. And again, you're going through life just day after day, year after year, going through this. How do you handle or how do you encourage women to get past that fear of being judged all the time?
So you read that chapter where I talked about being compliant, and my mother was a teacher, and she thought it was wonderful to have a child who was compliant. And I used to think of it as a compliment until I became an adult, and I was like, actually, being compliant does not get me anywhere. It is not serving me, it was frustrating. And so I think part of it is a lot of people who are compliant, who are wearing the mask, who are doing the things that society wants, do have this real inner frustration and rage because being compliant, following the rules is actually a form of oppression. And so I think that's the first thing is to grasp, actually, when I'm doing this, I am buying into this system. But I think the other thing that I think is really important is not only are you buying into the system, you are actually harming yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically. A lot of times you become sick, right? Because you start to internalize all these things that you haven't expressed in any way. So what I would say is one of the things that really shifted my paradigm was this idea of the fact that everything is in me, right? I'm having a lot of fun right now working with archetypes, but this whole idea of, so I talked to you about the book. It's a book that I offer to a lot of my clients called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers by Debbie Ford. And she's really talking about your social mask and your shadow self.
Yes.
And so the thesis of that is we all have social masks. It's Carl Jung, old white man, but philosopher, very, very, he's a white man I'd listen to. And he's talking about the fact that every human being has a social mask, but also has a shadow self and things that we hide that we were taught when we were little that were unacceptable. And we started to feel ashamed about them. And we thought that if we ever showed them, we'd be rejected. And that, and we are social beings, right? We survive in community. And so the two biggest fears or the two fundamental fears that we have as human beings are fear of death and fear of rejection.
Yes.
But fear of rejection is also fear of death because of the fact that we only survived out, in the Neanderthal days by banding together, right? And so, that's important to have that concept of, yes, I wear a mask. It's normal that I wear a mask. And yet the thing that I hide might be the thing that liberates me. In fact, I would assert the thing that you hide is the thing that will liberate you. And so part of that is understanding that it's all in us, every single thing. I am a murderer. I haven't committed murder. Let's be clear about that. But inside of me, I mean, if my daughter was under threat, I would probably kill someone, right? If I were hungry and I had no money and there was no way to get food, I'd probably steal. So everything is in me, right? And all of those things could serve me in an appropriate context, right? Not to say this is not carte blanche to like go out and do whatever you want to do. It really is about what serves you, what serves your family, what serves your community, what serves your goal, your purpose. And so first understanding that it's all in you, it's available to you. Some of it is not practiced. Like I have a PhD in being compliant, right? A lot of us do, but I don't have a PhD yet. I'm working on it on my inner bitch or my inner badass.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so that is then, but it will serve me at points to fight. It will serve me at points to be as crude as possible. It'll serve me to push back.
Yes.
Right? And so I think the first thing is to understand it's in you. The second thing is to have compassion for yourself. So I give a lot of tools and tips and tricks and techniques around really giving yourself grace and being compassionate with yourself.
And not just saying it, actually giving yourself grace.
Giving yourself grace. I have lots of tips, including just, so for example, if I said to myself, oh my gosh, I just gained 10 pounds over the last month, right? If you add 3 words to the end of whatever self-deprecating thing you're saying to yourself, self-loathing thing you're saying to yourself, it can shift it. And so those 3 things are, and that's okay.
Okay.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
So I gained 10 pounds and that's okay, right? It shifts the energy around compassion. It's okay, because what happens and where we all get shut down is we have an inner critic, we have an inner judge that is right on our shoulder with the rest of the itty bitty shitty committee, right? We are very well acquainted with. And what the judge is saying, what the inner critic is saying is, something's wrong with me, something's wrong with you, something's wrong with this. And any way you look at that, something's wrong with you, something's wrong with me, something's wrong with this, there's no compassion there. There's no curiosity, there's no love, there's no grace. And so when you say, and that's okay, it makes it, the judge just has to silence itself.
And imagine you carrying that through so many years of your life before you realize adding those 3 words to the end of the sentence. You've had the judge, juror, everything just criticizing you, just mentally just manifesting in your head every day of your life for years.
Yeah.
At some point, you realize enough is enough.
Enough is enough. And so I think everybody has a different level of comfort zone, right? Everybody has the capacity or incapacity or tolerance for different things.
Yes.
And so some people have little tolerance, and sometimes I think that's a great thing.
Yes.
Like, kudos to you. Like, if you get a little stick and you're
exactly.
like, oh, right? I feel like that level of self-love and preservation
it definitely
is amazing.
Changes when you hit 40-ish.
It does.
For sure.
Yeah, I think I hear 50 even more.
Exactly.
Even more. The F's given are,
The less talk.
Yeah.
For sure.
Exactly. And I think part of that is because, we know we only have a certain amount of time, a finite amount of time on this earth. Apparently it's something like 4,000 weeks. 4,000 weeks on this earth. And for, I won't talk about you, but for me, I'm halfway through. I only have 20,000 weeks left. What am I going to do with that? And, so the nonsense has to stop if I want to get what I want to get and give what I want to give. And so, yeah, as we get older, we give less F's, which I think is a great thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's funny how just as fast you can put on this mask so easily. It's so it's so liberating when you realize, actually, I need to take this up. My tolerance has changed. I'm not
Yes.
putting up with XYZ anymore.
Yes. And one of the things that I think it is important to say, especially because, a, a lot, maybe most of my clients are Black professional women. We have a history of oppression, right? From slavery to now, right? It's not done. We're not done yet, but we have come some way. And so the reason why I'm saying that is because we still have in our DNA this fear from slavery days. And it'll continue to be in our DNA until the systems of oppression are abolished completely. And so I'm saying that to say we don't necessarily have to take off our masks everywhere. We can do, and my goal is to take off my mask everywhere because I feel like that is self-actualization. And as I was saying before, in some contexts, we don't need to. It doesn't serve us to. However, I think we're not really good yet at distinguishing when
to do it.
right? And Michelle Obama talks about this, how she says, we have fear. Some of the fear is really there to protect us, and some of the fear is there and it's not serving us. And we need to take time to discover,
Identify
when it's fear that serves us and when it's a fear that's actually hindering us.
Yeah.
And, as a leadership coach and lifestyle coach, I create that space where you can start testing the theory, testing the thought, with baby steps, with big steps. And, we are fortunate in our society that we're not going to die. I was talking to my eyebrow technician yesterday and I was like, but did you die though?
Exactly.
And she was like, you need to put that on a t-shirt. I was like, okay, I think I might. But yeah, but did you die though? Yes, it felt like you were going to die because you thought you might get rejected. Most of the time you didn't. Most of the time somebody said, oh my God, I feel like that too.
I know.
Right? But somebody has to be the leader. Somebody has to have the courage, the heart to say it out loud or do it out loud, right?
It's funny that you mentioned that because a friend of mine had just said, when she was growing up, her mom used to tell her, but did you die? And then she would just, like, that was what she needed, the push to go and try new things and experiences. And I now start saying that to my son, who's 14. He's only in school, and he's sociable anyway. But yeah, he still has moments of being nervous, or I'm afraid, or he's concerned about what others would think, and trying something new. So I'm like, no, you can do it. Go ahead. And then he'll do it, and he'll be like, oh my God. I'm like, but did you die? I'm like, yes, that's how you need to approach it. Now go and do it. Okay, and he'll come back. Oh, yeah, that was so much fun, and I did it. It was hard, but did you die? Nope, I didn't. Okay, well, let's move on.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So yes, I mean, I think,
It sounds hard.
it does
but
because my father said it to me once. I finally, for the first time and probably the only time in my life, told him that I was angry at him, I think. And I was like, that was really hard for me to do. And he was like, well, look at that. Did you die? And I was really angry at him at the moment again. But it's true. I didn't die. He was very gracious. And, that's a lesson that I still needed to learn with him. But yeah, you do. You need that to be like, actually, not only did you not die, because that's the beginning of it. You didn't die, first of all. You thought you would.
Exactly.
Second of all, it was like an amazing outcome.
A relief.
A relief.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You feel so much lighter. And imagine you can do that in a context of, I'm not saying you need to go into your boss's office and go off it, but imagine in your career, in your, how you're raising your kids and your relationships, you offload. It makes space. It creates space to do something else.
Absolutely. I mean, as I was saying before, I used to work in a law firm, and the guys used to call each other white bread and big boss, which absolutely irritated the crap out of me. And, me, a Black woman, they would be calling me girlfriend and all this. And I want to punch them, literally. And I started, instead of doing that, I decided to start running at lunchtime so that I could get it out, which is actually a really important point. Anger is a very physical emotion. And so we need to let it out in a physical and verbal way. And so, for me, I think it was actually intuitively the right thing to do because it wouldn't serve me to punish, the partners.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think you learn that sometimes, but then again, maybe I needed to go into them and tell them, like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Some
It may
people
have
don't get
served
it.
me.
Some people don't get it until you actually verbalize it and just be very direct.
Yeah. I mean,
Not everybody, but some people need that.
yes, a lot of people need that. Most people need that. Most people need that because otherwise they would not be doing the nonsense that they're doing. And the thing about it too is, that's part of, in that context, privilege, right? They don't need to know.
Yeah.
Why would they even think to know?
Why would they even think about it?
And so, yeah, absolutely. And, that doesn't mean that we need to school every privileged white person. That is not our job. At the same time, in our lives, we are leaders.
Yeah.
We're leaders of our lives. So, yeah, it may serve us sometimes to be like, okay, I need to talk to my boss because they just don't know and they need to know.
Exactly.
It does not serve me to keep quiet any longer.
Exactly. Especially if you've been in a role for so long and you think, okay, maybe it's not the right time yet. And then it's never the right time. You just have to do it.
It's never the right time.
Never the right time.
Say it again. For the people in the back.
Exactly.
It's never the right time. Nothing is ever going to be lined up. I mean, I just left my full-time job for full-time entrepreneurship. And can I tell you how terrified I was?
But did you die?
But did I die?
Exactly.
No, I didn't even lose weight. No, I did lose weight a little bit, but intentionally. But no, I didn't die. In fact, quite the opposite. I am thriving. I am free. I am grounded. I am fully expressed. I am living my life, my dream life. And so not only do you not die, but you have capacity for this exhilarated feeling because you've started to move in alignment with your core values, your life's purpose, your authentic self. That's the only way that you can become actualized. And in fact, one of the things that I say often when I'm coaching or teaching people how to coach is being you is being well.
Yes. Oh my God. I remember in primary school and even high school being teased. And I've told this story before. I used to be teased because I was dark skinned. I used to be teased. Just, oh my God, it was constant. And it wasn't until, I was in my 20s probably that I kind of addressed it on my own. Like you said, you identify that this is holding me back. I'm not that person, or I'm not the person that they keep calling me. I know who I am, but it took me well into adulthood to address that.
Listen, me too, okay? Me too. I would say even in the last couple of years, really, really sort of internalizing that. And I'm just thinking my best friend growing up was dark skinned too. And I was highly aware of my light skin privilege because I heard the things, I saw the things, I was there. And and what a horrible, and children are the worst. I mean, they learn it from the adults, but they're the worst. And I think that's the thing, right? No matter what it is that kids or adults pick at and tell you it's not acceptable, is not standard, is not beauty, is not smart, is not acceptable. Those are the things that free us.
Yes.
So A, they're not true. They're not facts. It's nonsense, really. They're lies. And B, quite the contrary. One of the things that I learned more recently was I was in a training situation and I had done something really, really brave, something that was really, really difficult for me to do. I had called out someone and I was afraid of what she was going to say and do to me. I was afraid of the rejection.
Okay.
And it was in a group setting, in a team setting. And I mean, the long and the short of it was she wasn't meant to be in this setting, having been an alcoholic, not going to AA.
Okay.
And I said to her, if you don't tell the leaders, I'm going to tell the leaders. So you need to tell them first. And that was like really scary for me, really scary for me. Like, snitches get stitches, right?
Yes.
But anyway, so I did. And then, so she under the pressure, told everybody. And everybody gathered around her and was like, oh, you're so brave. You're so amazing. And I'm sitting here like, excuse me. And because it was in an environment where I was actually a minority, it was my breakthrough, because I finally said, you know what? I'm not waiting for you heifers to give me acknowledgement. I acknowledge myself.
Pat on the back.
I acknowledge myself. I'm a badass. And you don't see it, but I do. Right? And to me, that was a breakthrough. We don't need anybody else to tell us who we are.
Yes.
We know who we are. Deep down, we know who we are. And if you have been fortunate enough to experience love, whether it's divine love or familial love or friends, the love of friends, you have had a taste of it. It's in there.
Already.
It's in there. You have it in there. It's just buried with walls and windows and veils and masks and all of that. Yeah. But it's there, we just have to be a little bit braver.
And show up for ourselves.
We're worthy of it. Period.
That's it. Okay. I love it.
I feel better.
This is the space to do it in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have these conversations enough, right? And, I think some of my friends, well, again, maybe I need to test this out, would think I'm a little woo-woo having some of these conversations, like, oh, Jessica, you're always saying the obvious thing, and you're always the one at dinner to say, isn't this wonderful? Like call it out, what's happening. But I do think it's important to externalize and verbalize. And, some people don't feel safe enough to have a conversation yet, but I would say there are many ways to externalize it. And one of the best ways I've found is through any creative expression. And so creative expression could be singing and dancing and painting and writing poetry. But I think sometimes people don't realize that creative expression is also the way you dress, the way you plate your meals, or even what you eat, right? We're constantly thinking, we're constantly creating. We just aren't aware of it all the time. And so I think conscious creation, conscious expression of those things that we haven't expressed, whether it's on a T-shirt or in a journal, it matters, like you said.
It does. And I know when we talk about finding your purpose, I know for me, I struggle with that because I'm analytical I'm a numbers, I'm logic. I need to see the big picture. And I remember people saying, oh no, find your purpose. And to me, that was so artsy and like you said, foo-foo. And I was just like, that's not, I had roommates in university that were art majors. So it was a completely different lifestyle. I was a business student. And so when you say find your purpose, I couldn't grasp the concept.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, I realized I can express creativity in so many other ways. Like, I mean, my friends will probably say I'm bossy, but I enjoy organizing things. I enjoy organizing stuff for us to do and, oh, we should do this and yes. And I'm glad that I have a great bunch of friends that trust me and will be like, yeah, let's go for it. And then afterwards, I mean, we'll probably say, well, did we die? But
Almost.
Exactly. Almost, actually. But I love doing that sort of stuff, which takes you out of the everyday, the spreadsheet, the numbers,
Absolutely. Yeah. We are, a lot of the work that I do it's soul work. And soul work, another way of saying that is, when I talk about thoughts, feelings, body sensations, that's how we know we exist. So, that's where the soul resides. Another way of saying it is it's energy. So part of whatever we're doing, whatever we're creating is intellectual, but a lot of it is actually heart-based, soul-based, energy-based. And so we can't do it until we integrate the two, the head and the heart. And so for me, the heart also includes creativity and freedom, right? Because freedom doesn't happen, part of it happens here, but it's not just here. It has to be integrated. It has to be embodied.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. And I know some people, when you say the word energy, they kind of freak out a bit because they don't get it. But we're human beings. Everything has energy. Everything has energy. And so, yeah, absolutely right. When you recognize the positive and the negative aspects of it, yeah, it just makes sense.
I'm not a scientist, but I know that if we had on a scientist, they would tell us that, right? Every
Absolutely.
single thing is energy. Every single thing is connected to the other. We are, energy in physical form. I can't go further than that in terms of the science of it, but absolutely, there's physics that, my mother, when she died, there's this wonderful piece of text that says, have a physicist do your eulogy, because the physicist can give a scientific reason why I'm still here. I'm just more disorganized,
Oh my
right?
God. Okay. Make
Yeah.
note to self.
Yeah, it's so amazing. And so it's science. So that is a fact. Everything else is interpretation, but
Exactly.
that is a fact.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Okay. All right. So, Braver You University. How can we support you? How do you reach out to women? How do they get to you?
You can reach me at jessicalightbourne.com. All of my information is there. So that's my website. And then obviously my handle on Instagram is Braver You University, Braver You University. And then, really, one of the things that I have alluded to today is, I'm releasing a book in June.
Yeah, like what's next? What's going
Called,
on?
there's so many things going on. I don't want to confuse anyone with all the things because I'm always doing all the things.
Oh, yes.
I'm always doing all the
Me
things, as
too.
you know.
Not as much as me. I'm always
Okay. Right. Okay. So, which is why it's important to stop
Exactly.
and breathe and connect. But I've been sitting on a book for over 5 years. I'm releasing
Which
it,
is ridiculous.
which is
Know that.
ridiculous.
Absolutely not.
Fear of rejection and death. But in August, I'll be able to say I didn't die.
Exactly.
And so in June of this year, I will be releasing finally the Bounce Back Handbook, which is really looking at how can you get out of survival mode into thriving mode, regardless of life lifing and people peopling and losing people and the losses and the oppression and all those things. How can we still thrive? How can we still bounce back when life gives us a couple of punches in the face?
Well, Jessica, I'm thankful that that you felt safe enough to share at least one chapter with me. When I read that, I choked because I was like, oh my God. It resonated. The words jumped off the page. I related to everything that you said. I choked. I couldn't even get it out, really. My throat chakra was definitely a little, was
Yeah.
definitely like, oh my God. I had to read it. I had to put it down because it was just so relatable. And it was real for me.
It's real.
And I hadn't read anything so telling, so raw, so open in a while. So that was really, really, I'm looking forward to the rest of the chapters for sure.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I have been so afraid to put it out there is for all of the things that we just said, right? This is me taking off the mask in a huge way, and it feels really scary. But this is validation that sharing the story, and if it touches one person's life, which I know now it already has, that's why we do it,
why we do
right? For community, for connection, and to liberate each other. And so, thank you for saying yes.
Oh, yes.
And
I mean, if I read the rest, I'll probably out. I mean, I'll probably need some time to recover. But yeah, it was good.
yeah, well, I'm so glad, and I'm now developing a course. So I really, one of the things that I'm really committed to is making sure that my work is accessible, and that coaching is democratized, so that it's not just the old white men who are in the C-suite who get the privilege of being coached or having these concepts. And so the book is one way. Messy Mondays, which is free right now, is another way, which is a coaching group. There's different ways that I want to make sure that this work gets out there. And this is my way of, I have a little Post-it note on my computer desk that says, just for today, I give myself away. Because I honestly think that a true leader shows up to serve and puts their ego aside. And so this is like the ultimate for me right now in putting my ego aside and showing all the mess but all the cleanup as well.
All the beautiful mess.
And all the beautiful mess, because ultimately the things that a lot of people don't realize is mess is creating works of art. Mess is creating delicious s'mores. Mess is creating connection. Mess is creating true belonging, and true healing.
I love it. I love it. So, oh my God. Well, first of all, you have a space here. Whenever you need to share your story, I'm here for it. So you definitely have a space here. But yeah, I like to ask my guests at the end, given everything you know now about health and the importance of well-being, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh, I think the thing I would tell myself is the love that you're seeking, because I was a huge romantic and I wanted to get married and I wanted to be loved and I didn't want to make any of the mistakes my parents made. And I was searching outside myself for love. And I think what I would say to, little Jessica, teenage Jessica, adult Jessica is that love that you seek, it's in there and there's nothing wrong with you.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was good.
Thank you so much. Wow, I feel like I could have a cigarette now. I don't smoke.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. For all of our episodes will be on inzuriwellness.com. You can check them out at any time. And don't forget, if you ever want to have any sort of topic that you're interested in hearing about, learning about further, send me a line. Just send me an email. Let me know what you want to talk about and we'll have it here at Beauty and the Wise. Thank you.